This week is all about three things: reading my first Brandon Sanderson book, finishing one of the many series that I'm currently reading, and getting another installment of Critical Failures out of the way. It's going to be a great week. Welcome to the reading vlog. Wednesday, this week I'm rocking the broken tooth and nasally voice. I have a cold or a flu or something. The whole household is sick, so I've had a lot of downtime. So I'm hoping to get a lot of reading done because today I already finished my first book of the week, Failures Volume 3. Critical Failures is a series, a lit RPG, D&D inspired series by Robert Bevan. It's quickly becoming one of my favorite series, period. I love the characters, I love the irreverent dialogue, I love the guy humor. If you're a big fan of comedic movies from like the 2000s and early 2010s, like Hangover, Superbad, that type of humor, I think you will love these books. And if you're a Dungeons and Dragons fan, definitely give these books a try. It very much captures the atmosphere and feel of playing D&D. But that's not the most important book I'm reading this week. I'm finally picking up my first Brandon Sanderson book. I decided to start with something outside the Cosmere because I'm still waiting for my library copy of Mistborn to be ready to pick up. So I picked up the Frugal Wizard's Handbook to Surviving Medieval England, and I'm already 150 pages in. I love it. It's basically a time travel story. Our protagonist wakes up, doesn't remember his name, doesn't remember how he got there. All he knows is that he's from the future and he's in medieval England. And he has this guidebook, a book that's supposed to give him instructions about where he is, but it was destroyed in transit. So we're kind of figuring out what the mystery about all this is and why our guy decided to come to medieval England and how he plans to get back home, what problems he's going to run into while he's there. Already, I can tell Brandon Sanderson is not the best writer. He's a perfectly adequate writer, but he plots very well, great pacing. I can see why this man's able to pump out so many books a year while also being able to keep the relative consistent quality. Right off the bat, one thing I'm noticing about Brandon Sanderson's writing is how simple it is. There's no flowery prose. There's not too much fluff and fancy words. It's very easy to follow, very easy to consume. I think his books will be great to consume an audiobook for because I'm having no troubles focusing on this story. The Frugal Wizard's Handbook to Surviving Medieval England does not get too much love by Brandon Sanderson fans because it's not related to his Cosmere and it's very lighthearted, very low stakes. But I love cozy fantasy. So if Brandon Sanderson is able to capture this coziness in a lot of his other works, I think I'll be a fan of him for sure. If you were somehow able to bring a cell phone or a laptop back to medieval England, the science you bring back would be indistinguishable from magic. And that's exactly what is happening in A Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. We have a character from the future, they've gone to the past, and everybody thinks they're a wizard because to a primitive people, magic is indistinguishable from science. And this is something that's becoming very prevalent in fantasy. And I love this trope. I love this emerging theme. I love the idea of an advanced person going to a primitive civilization and being like, yo, I'm not magic. I have this thing called science, this thing called rationality, this thing called physics, and all these other things. And those people will look at you like you're crazy because they don't even have the building blocks to understand the knowledge that you are sharing with them. And what is a wizard but a person that just has secret knowledge, a person that has access to forbidden things? And I love the way Brandon Sanderson's playing with this. Friday, I'm feeling much better. Still feeling a little congested, but I'm much happier, much more comfortable. And I finished my first Brandon Sanderson book, A Frugal Wizard's Guide to Surviving Medieval England. And I loved it. Easily 4 out of 5 stars. A little formulaic, but Brandon Sanderson writes a good story. There was one part where I teared up around the 75-ish% mark of the book, and that's always good. Good emotional highs, good emotional lows, good plot twist. Even one plot twist I didn't predict. That's always good. That's quite surprising at this stage in my reading life. Yeah, Brandon Sanderson, not too much flash, not too much fancy, just very good meat and potatoes writing, great plotting, great story. I could see why he's considered the GOAT Tomorrow, I'll be finishing The Ghoul King. Like I said earlier this week, I want to be finishing up one series I've been reading for some time because I'm reading so many different series right now. The Ghoul King, part Western, part sci-fi, part zombie apocalypse story, part like fantasy book. It's a very much a genre bending work. It's very reminiscent of The Gunslinger by Stephen King, but not as much of a fever dream. But it's in this world where, you know, human civilization has reverted back to like a medieval state, but there's still leftover high science fiction technology alive in the world. And so the people in this book, they think of these machines as magic because magic to a primitive people, because science to a primitive people would seem very much like magic, which is something I mentioned about the Frugal Wizard's Guide to Surviving Medieval England. So yes, The Ghoul King is a sequel to The Emperor's Railroad, a novella I read last year, and it's already better than the first installment, and that is rare. I wonder why this series didn't keep going on after this point. Hopefully, the book does not end with any cliffhangers. It's the end of some things I'm not quite understand. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Sunday, October 29th, the final page count for this week, 668 pages. It was almost 666 pages again, 2 weeks in a row. That's weird. So I read 2 more pages just to be safe. 668. I finished 3 books. I finished The Ghoul King by Guy Haley a few moments ago. And what do I think? What a damn shame. I read the first book in the series, The Emperor's Railroad, a year or so ago, a little bit over a year ago. And I had mixed feelings. The idea was compelling. The setting was very interesting, a futuristic world taking place in the, Midwest of America. It's post-apocalyptic, and mankind has, regressed to a medieval state, and they're ruled by angels, which are basically just machines. And there's interesting commentary on oppression from religion, on power structures, on education, the importance of education. And there's also a zombie apocalypse going on, and there's ghouls, and there's a knight. We follow this knight, and he's like a knight in shining armor, but he's kind of like a cowboy. It's sort of like a gunslinger. And the first book was basically a love letter to the geography of this setting. Not too much happened in the first book, but I saw a lot of potential. So I read The Ghoul King, and it was much better. 4 out of 5 stars. Way better than the first installment, which I only gave 2.5 out of 5 stars. The sad thing is, this installment was written and published in 2016. And the author, from my understanding, has no plans to continue on with the series. So he did much better in the second installment, but this series bombed. This one only has 77 reviews on Amazon, and it's 8 years old, so I don't plan on seeing a third book. And this ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, so that is sad. But the author, I think, redeemed himself, so I'm going to probably give Guy Haley another try in the future. And also, that brings my total number of series that I'm reading currently down to 18 as opposed to 19. Somehow I started this week with 17. My goal was to get to 9 series that I was currently reading by the end of the year, and I'm at 18 now. So yes, this week was pretty damn good. 3 books, 2 4 stars. I got 3 4 stars because I really loved Critical Failures Part 3. I read some absurdist lit RPG. I read some nice sci fantasy, and I read a nice post-apocalyptic science fantasy. And I feel really good about it. Next week is the last day of September, and then it's spooky season. October, I'm reading at least 2 scary, creepy books a week, and I'm probably going to have to read some other books to kind of, mellow me out because I don't like to read dark subject matter all the time. Next week, Glorious Exploits, some T. Kingfisher, and maybe something else that's creepy. This week is pretty damn good, but next week will be even better. Thank you guys for watching this reading vlog where I read and I think about things, and I'll talk to you guys next time.